Greetings and welcome to Small Business CEO TV. My name is Glenn Garnes and I'm your host and the founder of Small Business CEO. This TV show is our effort to help small business owners to get connected to people in their community, both customers and colleagues. Our goal here is to let you get to know people while you get to know their business. And so we're going to have a conversation today with a very special young lady. Her name is Claudette Gadsden, and she is the founder of Temple in the Woods, a bed and breakfast facility.
That's correct.
She's got a lot more going on than that, but we're going to have to get that to on another day because, frankly, her story is extremely compelling, and I strongly urge you to get together and to get to know her better. But we're going to start with Temple in the Woods and talk a little bit about what you're doing with that. But before we go there, we want to get to know you first.
Okay.
So why don't you tell us a little bit about Claudette Gadsden?
Okay, well, I am originally from Charleston, South Carolina, and then I've moved around considerably since then. I lived in Maryland for 23 years and decided I'd been thinking about a bed and breakfast for a long time. And so I needed to make that happen. So I moved to Virginia.
Fantastic. Well, I don't want to turn this into a personal conversation
Yes.
for too much, but half my family was from Charleston or Somerville.
Oh, my father lived in
We'll have
Somerville
to
or
talk
in
about
Gadsden.
that. We'll have to talk about that. We might be related. Trust me, I'm sure that there's something in that. So you started off, you grew up in Charleston.
Yes.
When did you come to Maryland?
I came to Maryland, in 1993. In 1993, yeah.
Now you also have a military connection in your background. Tell us
Yes.
a little bit about that. That's
Yeah.
become near and dear to my heart.
Yes, I actually joined the Navy right out of high school. Actually, 4 days out of high school, I joined the Navy, and I was in the Navy for 6 years. And so it was a great experience for me, and then it was time to move on and do something different.
Now, did you have other family members that were?
Yes, as a matter of fact, I have 3 brothers, and 2 of them are also military. They were both in the Army.
So what inspired you to decide to go? Were they were in service at the time you made the decision?
Yes, actually, no. One was in, the oldest was in, and the middle was in college. So he hadn't yet joined the military, but he went through ROTC while in college.
Ah.
And it's interesting that you brought that up because it brought back to me that I, as an enlisted person in the Navy, actually went to his college and pinned his bars on him.
No way.
Yep, I sure did.
Wow, that must have been pretty special.
Yeah, it was.
So why did you decide to go in the military? What was that for you? What was it for you?
It was for me discipline. I needed some discipline in my life.
And you decided that on your own? No one had to plant that seed with you?
I decided that on my own. Yes, my mother died when I was 15. And 15 to 17 was kind of crazy. And I thought, I really do need some discipline in my life. And I could see where I could really spiral out of control if I don't do something about this now.
We're going to have you come back. So I have a feeling there's a lot to this military story and that early need for discipline.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
But we do have a lot of territory to cover today. So, but thanks for sharing that.
Sure.
I really appreciate our service members, especially the ones who have a desire to come back and continue to serve in a civilian capacity as entrepreneurs. I mean, everyone is welcome in my world, but I focus my attention through Small Business CEO on helping the ones that want to be entrepreneurs. And this was something I found out new about you too, so thanks for sharing that.
You're welcome.
So
You're welcome.
now you went from being in the military to returning to Maryland, is that what it was?
No, actually, when I got out of the military, I went back home to Charleston.
Okay.
And I stayed there for a little while, like a couple of months maybe, and then I decided I really didn't want to be there, so I went to California. So I lived in California for about 3 years. And I have one daughter, and I wanted my daughter to get to know the family. And the only way I could do that was to come back east because they weren't going to come west.
Right.
And so we went back east, and I was really having a hard time finding a job or finding a job that would pay me my worth, particularly coming from California and going to South Carolina. And so I actually started a transportation company.
Wow.
And so I drove and leased taxi cabs.
So this was not your first entrepreneurial
No,
endeavor by any stretch of the imagination.
No,
It's in your blood.
Yes, yes. Well, my father actually, that's what made it seem like okay for me to go into the taxi cab business, even though people were saying, "Oh, you're a woman, aren't you fearful? You know, when are you going to go out?" And I remember that my father actually had a taxi cab business. My father rented out taxi cabs when I was very young, and not very young, actually. When I left to join the Navy is when he did the taxi cab business. And so I was kind of familiar with that, so much so that my first permanent driver drove for my father 20 years prior.
Wow.
Yeah.
So was your father an influence with you as a mentor on the business, or did you just
On
do
the
that?
business, yeah, because my father's thing was just go for it. Whatever it is, just go for it.
You know, it's so important to have that kind of influence coming from home. It makes all the difference in the world
Yep.
to have your parents behind what you're
Absolutely.
doing, as opposed to trying to save you from yourself, so to speak.
Yeah, you know, I luckily I didn't have that because, as I said, my mom died when I was 15, and I say even to this day that I learned more about life in those first 15 years than since then, because she was such an amazing woman. But then after she died, her mother had this idea of, you're just a child, do whatever works for you, whatever, you won't know unless you do it.
Even your grandmother
Yeah,
was
even my
supportive?
grandmother was like, leave her, just let her be, just let her be. And so that's how I grew up, just being and doing whatever worked for me.
Wow.
And I can remember my grandmother telling people, just leave her, she's a child, just let her be. Yeah.
That is amazing, because generationally, that's a hard thing for a lot of parents and grandparents to embrace, because they usually come to relationships with such hard and fast beliefs about what kids should do.
Right, right.
You know, our generation was told, you're going to college.
Oh, no,
you know, you're going on to, you know, we want doctors and lawyers in the family.
Yeah.
I bought into that for a little while. But that's amazing. Well, good for you.
Yeah,
good for
thank
you.
you.
No wonder you're so passionate. The seed has been planted with you for a very long time.
Yes, absolutely.
So do you have any hobbies?
I love to travel. I absolutely love to travel, and spend time.
Any particular place, or just anywhere?
I like to travel anywhere, everywhere. As a matter of fact, I'm going to Amsterdam, and I'm excited about that.
This will be your first trip to Amsterdam?
Yep, this will be my first
deal.
trip, and so I'm excited about that. And so I've lived in Japan, and I've lived in California, and in South Carolina, and in Maryland, and now I just love to travel.
Wonderful,
Yeah.
wonderful. I have to confess, I'm not a big traveler, but I do like getting away from time to time. So I'm going to be getting away to your bed and breakfast,
well,
which we're going to
come
get to in just a minute. But before we move on to that, tell me something that nobody knows, or tell me something that a lot of people don't know about you.
Well, besides the fact that I lived in Japan for 3 years, usually people seem surprised when I tell them that I have 2 granddaughters.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, you don't look grandma age at all.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't.
I do.
I just don't. I'm good for you,
Thank
but I don't see you as Granny.
I'm not. I'm Gigi.
There you go. There you go.
I'm Gigi. Yeah, but that's I think a lot that people don't know about me is that I did live in Japan, and I really do like when I'm not working and working with people, like just being at home and just chilling.
Hey, listen, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. The whole purpose in life is to create it the way you want to experience it. And I'm so glad that you've had a chance to do that at every stage in your life, because there's so many people that end up being stifled in some way or another, either because of cultural beliefs and upbringing beliefs and whatever. They have to get beyond all the beliefs so that they can then believe in themselves to create what they want.
Right.
You've been living that the whole time.
I
So
have.
that might be a nice segue into both a mention about your related business to the bed and breakfast, but let's start with the bed and breakfast.
Okay.
Tell me a little bit about that. What was the impetus for it?
So, excuse me. I have always, probably for 30 years or so, I've wanted to own a bed and breakfast. For me, it was about serving people through my passion, which is cooking. I really enjoy cooking, and I really enjoy serving people. And so when I was growing up, my father was a chef for the first 30 years of my life. And my mother was also a cook. She didn't have the title of a chef, but she's amazing in the kitchen. And so for me, that was like everyone got together to eat. And even today, when I go home to Charleston, we get together and we eat. And so the idea of opening a bed and breakfast and cooking is just a natural progression, you know. And so, so I have the pleasure. The Temple in the Woods is a bed and breakfast off the beaten path because it is truly in the middle of the woods.
Tell us where it is, because
in
it was a part of Virginia
Yeah.
I've never heard of.
It is in Claudette, Virginia, which is a very rural town in northern Essex County. It's about an hour from Fredericksburg, an hour from Richmond, right off of 17. And it's just, it's a beautiful 5.5 acres. There's a beaver pond on the property. And so you'll hear beavers chomping on the trees. You'll hear bullfrogs. I mean, there's so many bullfrogs in this pond. I mean, there are turtles in the pond, and there are more species of birds than I can name.
Oh
I
my
mean, it
goodness.
is just a beautiful place to unplug and unwind.
So how did you come up with, I can see why you call it Temple in the Woods, but was there anything beyond just the fact that it was very descriptive of where it is that was important?
Interestingly, my former husband and I came up with the name before we found the place. We were just sitting there talking, and it was like, okay, so we're going to do this, and so what's the name? What are we looking for? You know, and it was like, we're looking for a place that is serene and that we can relax and just commune with nature. And then Temple came to mind. And okay, we want to be in the woods, so Temple in the Woods.
Wow. And then you went out and
then
found
we went
the
out
location
and
to match
found
the
the woods.
Fantastic.
Yes, found the woods.
name.
Yeah.
The bed and breakfast itself, it's 2 bedrooms.
Yep, it's 2 guest rooms. Yes.
And you are you're the innkeeper.
I am the innkeeper.
So you do the cooking and everything.
Yes, yes.
And I think we have some pictures of the facility. So can we go through those
Yes,
right now?
yes,
All
absolutely.
right, let's take a look and,
Okay.
and see what that.
And so that is.
Before we continue,
Okay.
who's in that shot?
That's the resident hound. That's Sam. Sam is a rescue pup
Oh,
that I
wow.
rescued from the shelter like within a couple of months after moving there.
Fantastic.
The bench is as soon as you turn in the driveway, there's that bench. I'm creating this beautiful rose garden because those are 4 rose bushes. I'm creating a beautiful rose garden so that you can sit there and relax. The driveway is probably about 1/3 of a mile long. And so usually by the time I've had guests say, by the time they walk down to the bottom of the driveway, they need a seat before they can walk back
okay.
up. And so now they have this beautiful bench in the garden that they can sit there and relax before they
Fantastic.
walk
Very
back
purposeful. I like
up.
that.
Yes, yes.
And what do we have here?
This is the living room.
Wow.
And so the red chair, that's the favorite chair because you can sit in the red chair, put your feet up, there's a lamp behind it, you can read or snooze.
You've
That's a
really
great
given some
place.
thought to this. I
Yes.
like this.
Now this is the tranquil room. Now in this room, it is the master bedroom. It has the ensuite bathroom with this one. And this is a queen bed that looks out into the garden.
Nice. Okay, let's go to the
Yep.
next one.
And that is the bathroom for
that particular
yeah,
room.
for that
Okay.
particular room.
So let me stop you there for a minute.
Yeah.
Let's hold that picture. So is it 2 bedrooms and a room for you, or do you occupy one of them?
Oh, I don't. Those are just 2 guest rooms.
2 guest rooms.
I occupy a totally separate room.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's important to know for people's planning.
Yes,
you know.
yes, yeah. 2 guest rooms.
Okay, let's go to the next picture.
And that is the other guest room. Now this is the serene room, and I call this a serene room because outside that window is the beaver pond,
Wow.
and it is so cool and so calming.
Let
And
me ask you a question. Are beavers friendly? Are they
yeah,
just kind of...
they hide. They try
Yeah.
not to let humans see them because human has a tendency to catch them and kill them.
Yeah, all the unfavorable things.
Right, yeah. And so, yeah, for this room, this is the room that that most people use when they want to travel. They want to share a room with a friend, but they don't want to share a bed.
Gotcha.
And so these are 2 extra long twin bed. So it's not, you know, the regular twin beds, which are really short and not necessarily made for taller adults.
Sure.
But yeah, so with this room, they have their own bathroom as well. The bathroom for this room is just outside.
Got it.
Yeah, yeah. And
Very
so
nice.
those are just 2 guest rooms. And I decided on 2 guest rooms because I want to be able to give my guests my undivided attention.
So you were not, yeah, because a lot of bread and breakfasts is, it's almost like a miniature hotel.
Yeah.
And there's so much going on, you might as well be at a hotel.
Right, right. And that was not my intention. I want to be able to sit down and have a conversation with my guests. You know, I want to be able to serve you. So, like as an example, I had a guest come in, make a last minute reservations, and only to find out at 5 o'clock that their diet was gluten-free and dairy-free.
Oh, no. Not the best time to find that out, right?
At 5 o'clock in the evening. And so now I have to go out and I have to, because I choose not to tell my guests that I'm not able to service them. I choose not to do that.
So you figured it out.
And so, yes, and so I found this amazing recipe. Oh, it was so good, for gluten-free, dairy-free French toast.
That doesn't even sound possible, but you figured it out apparently.
Amazing, and the guests loved it.
All right, so I don't need to be gluten-free, but that's what I want when I come down.
Okay. It was really good. It was really good. And so I get to have that experience. So if my guests tell me that they have dietary restrictions, then I take pleasure in creating something new and different for them that cares for their dietary restrictions.
Fantastic. And speaking of diet, do you have any pictures of the food?
Yes, I think we do.
Let's take a look at that.
Now
Wow.
that's just potatoes and peppers and
That's all it needs to be.
Yeah, and that was really good that day.
It looks good. It looks good.
Yeah.
Uh-oh. Here's my weakness.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
It's my weakness, too. And I love baking fresh breads and muffins for the guests when they come. And so that one was so amazing. I think it's like a raspberry. But the thing that made that one pop was because the raspberry was in the bottom. And
Yeah, that looks amazing.
that was good. Yeah. And so that's one of our specialties right there, that's the shrimp and gravy and sausage and peppers.
Wow.
And so one of our specialties is shrimp and grits.
So
Because
I'm
from
helping
Charleston.
me pick out my menu for the trip. So.
Yeah. So again, I'm from Charleston, so it's shrimp and grits. So
Yes,
when my
indeed.
guests come, shrimp and grits is always on the menu. If they don't eat grits or they don't, for whatever reason they don't want shrimp and grits, we can switch to something else. But shrimp and grits is always an option.
Wow, that's fantastic.
Yep, every day, every day it's an option to have shrimp and grits.
Wonderful, wonderful.
Yep.
Okay, what else do we are we finished? Oh, no, there's
that's the fireplace.
Wow.
Yeah, in the winter, it is so cool to sit there in front of the fireplace.
So what you're saying is I'm going to need to make more than one trip.
Yep, you do. Yep, because because it's a beautiful place any time of the year. And I was just looking up.
Is that a sunrise or sunset?
That's a sunset.
Nice.
And that an ice storm came through and bent that tree over like that. And I thought that was so beautiful, like this arch that said welcome. And I took that picture, and unfortunately I had to cut the tree down because it never went back up. But that was just
I have
such
to
a
say,
beautiful
this
shot.
looks like a great place for a business professional to get away and engage in reflection and mindfulness.
Yep.
Because there's nothing else to do. You don't have the hustle and bustle of a city close by. And it's close enough that you don't have to make a major trek to be able to do something like this, depending on where you're looking to draw people. But we're in the Washington, D.C. area. What's the travel time?
It's about 2 hours from D.C.,
that's not
2.5 hours from Baltimore. And most of my guests are from the D.C. metro area.
Yeah, that would make sense.
Yep, I've had a couple from Pennsylvania, but usually it's like right around D.C., Manassas, Fredericksburg,
Nice.
And Southern Maryland. Yeah. So
Well, now that I know where it is and what it's all about, so how can somebody get connected to you? You have a website.
Yep, I have a
obviously.
website. It is www.templeinthewoods.com. And the email address is quite simple, info@templeinthewoods.com.
Fantastic, fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, that's got to be exciting for you. I mean, you spent 30 years wanting to do this, and now you've created that.
Yes.
Which showed patience,
Yes.
persistence.
Yes.
Oh man, that's
And
you're
support.
basically now. This is the transition I want to make because you're also a life coach.
I am.
And now all these experiences explains to me why you are now equipped to help other people to create what they want in their lives because of what you know worked in yours.
Yes, yes.
So tell us a little bit, the thing that's intriguing to me about your life coaching is that you're also using the bread and breakfast, making that part of the life coaching experience for some of your clients that want that one-to-one in-person experience. Tell me a little bit about that.
So yes, so my coaching is, I am Coach Claudette, the conversation coach, and so what I do is I help clients, particularly women, to talk up, to tell the world what works for you. Because so often we say one thing, but we're feeling something totally different inside. And my coaching has to do with feelings. Like, how do you feel? How do you feel? Do what feels good to you. Because if you don't feel good, the world around you doesn't feel good either. Because they're concerned about you and why you're not feeling good. And so I do offer one-on-one intensives for my clients to come out to Temple in the Woods and actually spend a day just with me.
Imagine this. You're coaching them on how to be comfortable in their own skin. You're giving them a place to go out and be mindful and reflective, tranquil, and at peace with themselves.
Yes.
And you're fixing their meals the whole time, so you're building an incredible bond with them.
Yep.
What an experience that has to be.
And I am teaching them how to be okay with being served, because so often women only know how to serve.
Yeah, that's a big one. That's a big one.
Yeah.
This is wonderful. Well, we could have this, we could be here for a couple more hours, but we really can't.
Yes, I understand.
But what I do want to do, you're also going to be featured because of your status as a life coach in our sister program, Abundant Society, where we'll be actually talking with you about some of the substantive things that you teach in life coaching as a coaching professional. So I know I will see you again.
Thank you.
But I want to thank you for sharing your story with me and, of course, with our wonderful audience. Now, I'll tell you something right now, folks. If after hearing this brief version of Claudette's story, you don't go out and get connected to her, there is truly something wrong in the world. I strongly encourage you to get connected to Claudette and to spend some time getting to know her. I know that she can make a difference in your life and possibly in the lives of other people that you know that might need help from her coaching perspective. But at a minimum, you need to find a way to make a pilgrimage to this bed and breakfast. TempleInTheWoods.com. Yes. So let's bring that right back up one more time. TempleInTheWoods.com. Ask for the grits and shrimp and grits, and make sure that the muffins are on the raspberry muffins are on the menu that day. Well, listen, I want to thank you for joining us for this episode of Small Business CEO TV. It has been my absolute pleasure to share this with you. And on behalf of Claudette Gadsden, I want to thank you for joining us once more. This is Glenn Garnes with Small Business CEO.